one night we went to a friend's house for a party. She had won a hot tub for the weekend in a raffle, and there was a good mixture of women there, all who knew each other. Some were from church and some weren't. This was something I'd always kind of felt with groups of women friends, that I almost felt my friends divided into two groups, those who I went out with on a weekend and those that I saw in church. So the first thing we did was we had women who lunch and pray, and I invited a small group, a half dozen of us, to come together for lunch and to talk about some of the women we cared about. And from there we said, wouldn't it be good to have something we could invite them to? And that's how Divine Divas was born. And it was only when we started talking to other people, especially in other churches, who wanted to sort of use some of our ideas, that the whole idea of, was it fresh expression, or was it evangelism or outreach? And I'm not sure we really know. If church were to be taken in its tight term, that we're going to have an organised liturgy and sing hymns, I'm not sure that will evolve into that. If we're talking about evolving to a place where people have a relationship with Jesus and are happy to pray and to chatter about the Bible, then I think it could easily evolve into that. And I guess as we chatter together, you could call it a cell group or a Bible study or church, but I'm not sure we'd be too keen to try and pin it down too much.
Taste and See really began about 18 months ago with 4 of us sat round a table in a back garden looking at the churches of our town and asking the questions, why aren't there any 20s, 30s, 40s, people of our own age group in the churches, and any of the churches in the town really? And we started to ask the question, how do we encourage those folk to come into our church? And we fairly quickly realised it was the wrong question. Worship is very relaxed, it's very informal, it's visual, it's also a place of mission. We wanted to plant alpha within this context, and so we feel this really is valid church. It may not look like church, it may not feel like church, but we believe it's doing what Jesus calls us to do and to be in this community. We've got a small building at the rear of our premises that we've now just turned into a small prayer room, and our aim is to have that prayer room open, and we hope that people will just take that time to go and meet with God in a very, very different way. I'm sure for some people this will be a stepping stone into traditional church. I'm sure some people will find here something new and dynamic and find their way into the life of the traditional church. But I guess for some and for many, this will become their church. This will be their connection with the Christian church. This will be the place that they find their spiritual home, where they learn, where they're discipled, where they're nurtured, and this will be their church.
Blessed is a community that came out of youth work in urban Portsmouth. It began as a form of outreach, and as we started to explore the faith with young people, they discovered that their identity was principally sort of focused around the sacramental life. It's what we as a church were about, and it's how they increasingly identified themselves. And so as we began to explore it, they said to me, Farf, it's all the stuff about bread and wine, isn't it? And they found their life of faith explored through sacramental signs and wonders. So Blessed became almost uniquely a form of expression and a community that was formed around the Mass. We quickly began to understand that actually it was more than just celebrating special forms of worship, but actually was about forming community. So we then sought to really set up Blessed as an alternative ecclesial community. I think you have to work harder when things like Twitter and Facebook and email and texting are used quite extensively. However, we found that in people's busy lives, when their time and their commitment is far more difficult to identify and prescribe, we found that latency that comes with social networking can actually be our boon. People are waking up each morning to the text messages that are sent via Twitter to them every day, a daily reflection, a word of scripture. It focuses their devotional life.
This is the house of God.
When people say, oh yes, blessed is all right, it's some sort of faux church, it's pretend church, it's not real church, I would challenge them to actually come and share the sacrament with us. Actually, whenever people are gathered together around the Blessed Sacrament, there Christ is present. And coming from our sacramental Anglo-Catholic tradition, we would definitely say that Christ is present in precious blood and Blessed Sacrament. And so, of course, Christ is made real to us at every gathering. And as increasingly as communities have sought to seek out God and seek his will, they've turned increasingly to sign and to symbol and to sacrament. And if that's been a fresh expression of the church, then we've been doing that for 150, 200 years.